So what does it mean to improvise? A lot of romantic definitions of improv have been put forward over the years. The classic definition has been making stuff up on the spot or something to that effect. But as we'll see, music is made of phrases, and these phrases can be broken apart and understood. The only thing the improviser has to decide in the moment is how to chain the phrases together. But it's all controlled, and it's all thought out, albeit extremely quickly for expert-level improvisers. A much better definition for improvisation, in my opinion, would be the ability to form musical sentences in real time through the chaining together of notes, chords, and rhythm. In other words, the notes and the pattern in which we play those notes are the letters and words that form the sentences of our musical statements. So learning how to say something musically that can be understood by others will end up being incredibly important in these lessons. We go more into this topic when we talk about question and answer in our intermediate course. Until then, we will just focus on learning the letters and words, or the syntax of the musical language, so that we can be free to call upon them at will to help us convey our musical messages. Now, a quick word about debunking the idea that improv is only for the ultra-talented among us, the prodigies, or only musicians that have spent decades studying. There is so much stigma in this regard, in fact, that even accomplished musicians doubt that they can learn improvisation. My mother is a terrific musician. She has played the piano since she was 5 or 6 and has played concerts with a jazz band as a flutist, and has for decades played in and organized piano recitals for hundreds of students as a teacher over the years. She is also a fluent organist and has been playing the organ for her church for decades. And yet, whenever I visit, it always seems like I find a piano pretty quickly, and while I'm playing an improvised chord progression, she will almost always call from the other room, "Oh, I wish I could do that." To which I always reply, "You for sure can." Because if even an accomplished musician finds it hard to believe that developing skills in improvisation is beyond them, what hope do the rest of us have? In fact, I myself doubted that improv was learnable for me until I ventured into music school 10 or so years ago and was thrown into a room full of complete doubters like me and forced to play something, anything, and after weeks, or even days, actually, of doing that, you realize that you have more control over the music you play than you think. And you end up trying certain things you maybe wouldn't have even thought to try before. And when you hear that those choices produce pleasing music, it reinforces those choices and emboldens you to make ever new, ever bolder choices. All this is to say, a lot about what makes a good improviser is the audacity to try. And luckily, you don't have to start from scratch. This course will hopefully make that first attempt to start feel a little less scary and a little more approachable. So to sum up, the idea that being able to improvise is akin to having a perfect pitch, or something you're born with, is complete horsepucky, pardon my language. I'm afraid it's like pretty much everything in life, and simply requires time doing it. And while these courses won't replace that part, that is to say, the practicing part, I do hope that they'll provide a clear view of the pathway to improve and help motivate you to follow that path as you see yourself getting better and better through these lessons. So how long does it take? This question requires a fair amount of debunking as well, I think. As I mentioned earlier, after only weeks or days of practice, I could tell 3 things. 1, that I was not good at improv. 2, I was already enjoying improvising despite the fact that I was not very good. And 3, I could usually see at least one way I could improve. There would always be something more interesting I could do with my left hand, or simply changing the rhythm of the melody, or a combination of the two. And a lot of my teachers help show me that, and that's what I hope to do for you in this course. We'll talk about things like dynamics and tempo, or the quality of notes. That's whether something sounds major or minor to us, topics we'll get into a great detail. So, how long will it take? It largely depends on you. I'm confident that if you took a 3 to 5 year vacation and spent most of that time on the piano bench, you would be good enough to play professionally at the end. That's a bit of a guess, and it's also a bit of a simplification, and I'm not necessarily recommending you do that. I'm just trying to convey in raw time, roughly how good you can expect to become with regular practice. That said, as your circumstance will always be different from someone else's, what matters most is earnest practice for the sake of learning something new each time, not to fill some quota of hours played. If the former is your approach, you may even achieve some of these milestones faster than if you were to simply put in the time. Having said that, putting in the time is still a good strategy to fall back on, even if you don't feel like the most attentive student at times, for the simple reason that it will help to create a routine in your brain. Just don't overdo it, and don't try to force your brain to understand something. Just try to be patient and constantly remind yourself of the progress you've made. And when you simply can't stomach another exercise, play something you love and can confidently play to reward yourself for an honest attempt. In all cases, remember to regularly get up and walk around. Try changing your environment by taking a walk or simply standing outside on your porch to give your brain time to absorb what you've learned. Some taking this course may not be interested in professional gigs, which is also great. A slow approach can be an excellent choice because you don't have the pressure of needing your playing ability to provide for you, which obviously can be a cause of great stress, especially if you don't yet feel confident enough in your playing ability to take on paying gigs. However, it's also incredibly important to recognize that everyone begins as a beginner. And I promise, if the only person you compare your progress to is yourself, you will make enormous strides toward your music goals, whatever they are. I'll see you in the next segment, where we'll talk about the piano, the greatest instrument of all time.